you will inevitably seek to control others to gratify them. And we make the tragic mistake of calling that love. My girlfriend eventually broke up with me after a 4-year relationship because she knew I didn't know how to love her. And she was right. And I remember getting on my knees when I was 20 years old. Because I had been, let's just put it this way, I had been relieving my compulsions on a daily basis since the age of 13. Either by myself or with the help of my girlfriend. And the thought of returning to the way I used to indulge my compulsions after or before I was dating horrified me. I didn't want to, I was like, God, please save me. Save me, please. I beg of you. I beg of you. Set me free. Set me free. I'm not saying it hasn't been a battle, but he did. Freedom is a journey. You never can say, I've arrived at true freedom. There's always more. There's always more. There's always more. But between the age of 20 and 25, when I started dating my wife, I didn't date anybody. I was going through some really deep purifications, really deep rearranging of the furniture in my heart, if you will. And I became freer and freer. And I'm still on the journey. I still need to be made freer and freer. Because freedom is of God, and God is infinite. There's always more to freedom. There's always more to freedom. But I was making some giant steps at this stage of my life, and I was beginning to see women as persons for the first time. And I was free, getting liberated from my compulsions. Masturbation was not an issue. I was free. I remember realizing that Christ wanted to come into those desires, which had been so selfish, and redirect my rocket engines to the stars, if you will. It was setting me free. Wendy and I, early in our relationship, this would be now 1995. We got married in November of 95. We only dated for 7 weeks. But we had known each other for 3 years. We were very good friends, and our friendship blossomed very quickly. And 7 weeks after our first date, I asked her to be my wife. And we were married 6 months later. We've been married almost 22 years. And I remember this day very, very clearly. We were at one of my favorite places in Pennsylvania where I grew up, overlooking the Susquehanna River, and we were sitting on this rock ledge. And I was holding her in my arms. The birds were singing. The breeze was blowing. And I just wanted to love her. I just wanted to tell her how good she was. And I had this flashback popped in my head, a memory, when I was a man on a mission, just trying to get what I wanted out of my girlfriend. Just pushing her buttons, manipulating her to get what I wanted. And I shuddered. I was like, oh. And Wendy said, what? What's wrong? I said, honey, I don't want to use you. I don't want to manipulate you. She said, good. I said, I don't want to treat you like a thing. Good. I don't want to push your buttons or try to get anything from you. Good. I said, Wendy, I'm free. I'm free. I just want to love you. She said, good. Good. Freedom. Freedom. I could have jumped off that mountain and flown like a bird. Flown, is that a word? Did I get that? My brain's just not functioning so well. I was about to say flew. I could have flew like a bird. I could have flown like a bird. Freedom is freedom from sin. Not freedom to sin. It's freedom from the compulsion to indulge. Lust negates love. Freedom affords love. License sees the law as a tyrant. It's the law that's the problem. So I want to throw away the law so I can do whatever I want. But freedom sees sin as the tyrant. With license, the law feels like an imposition. Who is the Catholic Church? Tell me what I should do. But freedom, the law is written on the heart. And here we have to distinguish between what St. John Paul II calls ethic and ethos. Related words, obviously, but there's a difference. In the Sermon on the Mount, Jesus says, you've heard the ethic not to commit adultery. You've heard the law not to commit adultery. And then he adds, but the problem is there's lust in your heart. You desire to commit adultery. Jesus doesn't want to just shove the ethic down our throats. Jesus wants to transform our ethos. Ethos refers to whatever attracts us or repulses us. That's our ethos. Right? If you are attracted to committing adultery, the problem is not the law that says thou shalt not commit adultery. The problem is you want to commit adultery. It's not the law that needs to change, it's the human heart that needs to change. Let me pick on a married couple here. Married couple. Married couple? Any married people? Okay, Deacon Dave, I'll pick on you. What's your wife's name? Kira? Deacon Dave, do you have any desire to murder your wife, Kira? Good answer, good answer. He says no, he does not desire to murder his wife. Deacon Dave, do you need the commandment, thou shalt not murder thy wife? Do you need that commandment? Yes. You do? Do you need that commandment? Do you need it? Why would you need it if you have no desire to break it? He doesn't need the commandment. Okay, he's tracking with me now. Deacon Dave, you're ruining my example. Let me ask you again. Deacon Dave, do you need the commandment, thou shalt not murder thy wife? Do you need this? Do you need this in your life? Somebody else. You're ruining my example, Deacon Dave. The point is, if you don't desire to murder your wife, why would you need the commandment? Okay, so do you need the commandment not to murder thy wife? Okay. Are we on the same page now? Are you tracking with me here? What my point is? Here's my point. We only need the commandments that we desire to break. And we are only bitter towards the law when we desire to break it. If Deacon Dave, I know I put him on the spot and maybe he wasn't tracking with me initially. But if Deacon Dave needed the commandment in his life not to murder his wife, that would be because he desires to murder his wife. Are you following me? Deacon Dave, the law not to murder your wife is written on his heart. So in the beginning, here was God's commandment, not to commit adultery. And here was the human heart, united with the commandment, because the law was written on the heart. With original sin, there was a rupture. Out of the gap is to bring